Welcome back to Sahara TV. We're pleased to have with us today Mr. Okechukwu Okugo. Mr. Okugo is a noted author, a poet, playwright, copy editor, and a magazine columnist. He's also an entrepreneur and was educated in Nigeria, and his profession is as an engineer. He's with us today to speak about some of his published works and some of his books. Welcome to Sahara TV.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah,
thank you. Romance factors strongly into many of your works. Why is this something that you've decided to explore within your own work?
Okay. Yeah, you know, whatever we do today in life, you know, love is the same thing. So that's why I always zero in on romance and use it to, you know, delve into matters, tensions that bite in the society. So that's why I use romance to explain the tensions we have basically in the society. Okay.
And I understand that you will read an excerpt of your book as well about romance later in the interview. But the Sahara TV's own Rudolph Okonkwo, he often says that Africa is a place of many stories. Why do you choose the stories that you want to tell? What goes into your process to choose these stories?
Okay. You know, basically there are two things. When an author, when you hold your pen to write, basically there are two things in your mind. One is to entertain, and another thing is to educate. And in education, you try to fashion out a way you can use your pen, your writing process to solve tensions or problems in the society. So that's whenever I lift my pen to write, I ask myself, what am I gonna, you know, tackle with my writing process? So, and basically when you look around, you see that we have a lot of problems, a lot of social issues, political issues, different kinds of issues in the society. So that, you know, decides the way I veer towards. Though I measure basically on African affairs, but touching the world in general. Yeah, that's the way I.
And you use romance to explore these tensions specifically.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Would you like to use this as an opportunity to read an excerpt of your book?
Okay. Yeah. I think one thing that's fascinating with my writing is that when I write, I use one thing to explain a lot of things that basically does not look as if they are connected. You understand? Like this book is a romance, but here you can read interesting African stories, you can read about interesting African places, you can know, it's like, you know, you don't need to go to a place to know exactly what's happening in a place. You can read a good book and know, okay, is this the way these people do? Is this how things are done? Is this their culture? Is this their basic way of life? So that's what I try to actualize through my writing. So I think it would be nice if I can read from the book, say page 14. It goes this way.
And this book is The Goliath and the Ant.
Goliath and the Ant, yeah, yes. Goliath and the Ant. So, excellent. Yeah. You know, the protagonist here, which I liken as the Goliath, is called Odike. And the one I liken as the Ant is the Ngwamma. You understand? So now this is a conversation going on between two of them. You know, the Goliath is trying to woo the Ant, you know. So, and basically the ant was not seeing any, you know, thing that can hold two of them together. And the man is, you know, having a hidden, you know, a passion to make sure that he convinces the woman to, you know, give him, to surrender his love. So it goes like this. He said, yes, you can. Odike is talking. He said, yes, you can. By the way you are living shows that you are living for a goal. That is what endears you to me, just like the smell of shit endears a housefly to it. Not only that you acquired a degree in education, you have mass-produced cocoyam in this village with only your bare fingers. Ngwamma, do you know what? Then she said, what? Your singular effort has made cocoyam a staple in our hamlet. Cocoyam has been at the heart of every meal in this village. And any farmer in Azuoze who has not cultivated cocoyam today is not considered serious. Yet, season by season, you make them know your superiority with your different species of cocoyam, which they know not how you come about them. Your cocoyam is so plentiful and very affordable that today no one in Azuoze can go to bed again in an empty stomach. You have helped cure the extreme hunger of the people. Can't you see you've been living for a cause? And the woman said, no one called me to do what I do. I don't eat the bread of laziness. That is why I toil day and night to help myself. Do I let you know how I became a cocoyam farmer? When my mother fell ill, about to die, afflicted with diabetes, and I am told that cocoyam is the chief food which she would depend on all her life, I became afraid on how to get money to continue affording them. Then I thought, since I can plant them and make them available to her, what stops me from doing so? I used all my strength to plant them, to make them plentiful. I used all my strength to plant them, to make them plentiful, so that she will never lack food. That was how it all started. And today, I am known as Ngwamma the cocoyam farmer, chuckling artfully. She started laughing. Now the man said, can't you see your ingenuity? You possess a rare intelligence. Ngwamma, please marry me. Together we can. And she now said, Odike, stop telling me to marry you. I have told you the gap is so wide between us. You are from a lineage of great men, kings and princes. But look at mine. No one knows us. Not even my own late wretched father. And the man said, now, even if nobody knows your father, but you can make people know you. All men are born equal, no matter the background. You are only known by what great things you have done to impact on the people. King Njoya, the 17th king of the Bamon people of Western Cameroon, showed himself to be a genius, and today remembered as a great linguist because he invented his own peculiar writing system called the Akauku.
Mm-hmm. So
you understand? So this is basically the way I now use romance to bring other facets together.
Do you find that using romances as this as an emotion which all cultures and all societies feel, do you feel like this is a way that your books can appeal to not just different readers and audiences in Africa, but outside of Africa, in Europe and even in Asia and North America and places like that? Do you think that this is an important aspect of your writing that will really spread out audiences?
Yeah, exactly. Romance is one culture found in every society in the whole world. When you go to Asia, when you go to America, you go everywhere, romance is one culture that is universal. Mm-hmm. Every society marries, offers their daughter hand in marriage to somebody, you understand? So this is something I know that is universal. Mm-hmm. So I now use it coming from the African perspective and making it applicable so that anybody, anywhere reading it will understand. Mm-hmm. You understand?
Yeah.
And using it to show the world that this is the way we live in Africa.
Mm-hmm. So by your works and using familiar emotions would be a way to introduce people to your work. But yet we have so many African authors who really struggle to break into publishing, whose stories never get told. Why do you think that the barriers and the obstacles for authors of African descent or authors from Africa telling African stories, why do you think those barriers seem to be so insurmountable at times?
Okay, when you talk about like the major problem facing Africa, the book industry or the publishing industry in Africa majorly is the reading culture. Mm-hmm. Africans don't have the reading culture, because when people read, when people are curious to read books, they buy books, they go and buy books, you understand? Mm-hmm. And when you get books published and you sell it, you understand, then, you know, it will encourage writers to write more. It will encourage publishers to publish more, because they know that people out there are going to read it, they're going to buy it. So the reading culture is a problem. And another problem is piracy, you understand? Because when you succeed in bringing out even a good book, and people maybe peradventure after struggling, and you try and you break even, and your book is out there, people's going to come in and pirate it, and in the end, you're not going to see anything from your work. So these are the two major problems facing African writers.
I remember there was a really interesting question that Chris Abani once received when an interviewer was asking him about his writing. They said, how would you feel if you found out somebody stole one of your books? So I want to ask you the same question. If you found out that somebody stole one of your books for the purpose of reading, how would you feel about that?
Well, you know, basically, it depends on the perspective of what you stole it for. You understand? When you steal it to make money from it, or to rip off, you know, and debar me from getting something that is due to me, I'm going to feel bad. But when you steal it that you love it, you want to propagate it, or you want to showcase it to people, for people to see, yes, it's okay. You understand? Like maybe I see people, I'm passing along, or I enter a theater to watch, you know, a film or a movie or something, and I see people staging my film even without telling me. I'll feel happy. It's a great thing, you understand? Because you don't write a book, you don't make stories for a story is not a story until it is read. You understand? Until it is showcased and people can see it. So when it depends on the aspect why somebody is you know, doing what is doing, he or she is doing with the book. So if it is to propagate it out, good. But if it is to rip off and debar me from getting something, bad.
Yeah. Which African authors have inspired you most?
Yeah, a lot of good, you know, like you said before, Africa is a great place of great stories and great storytellers and writers. But I feel the impact made by the late Chinua Achebe, you know him, Things Fall Apart, yeah. I can't, you know, you know, the impact, what he actualized with African literature, that's what gave life to my writing. When I look at it, I say, well, if this man can achieve this through his writing, and made this impact about Africa, because it's all about, though I am from Nigeria, but it's all about Africa, you understand? Trying to let people, you know that these people are great people, they have a definite way of life, and there is something that connects Africa with every other continent in the world. So that's what he did, and that's what inspires me. And
do you find so many of the characters that that he would write about were everyday characters? But they were larger than life in the fact that they were everyday. Do you feel like that permeates into your writing as well? You were speaking about the difference between the Goliath and the ant, and so you were really almost. You were introducing the reader to this ant, somebody who is a farmer and works predominantly on agriculture, faced with a lot of the same dramas and problems that everyday people face, and yet you really put a light on this particular character. And in that conversation that you just read from the book, the Goliath is actually saying what you're doing is great. You might think it's innocuous, you might think it's unimportant, but it is powerful. Do you think that he's inspired you in that way, to write that way?
Yeah. You know, just like I told you, my style of writing is unique because I can use one thing and talk about so many things that are not related together. That, like here, I've used Goliath, like this Goliath and the Ant. I use romance to talk about the value of education, the value of technology. You understand? Because people can never develop. Like Africa, every time some people, like old writers, old poets before us, when they were writing, you know, their poems features majorly, or, you know, trying to say that the problem of Africa is colonization, colonization, colonization. So, but today, the problem we have discovered, we, the new breed of writers, we have discovered that the problem of Africa is not colonization. You understand? And we have to tell the story now. So what he did, what Chinua Achebe did by, you know, what he did that time, you know, had an impact in the society then. Today, that's why I said I'm going to write something that's going to make impact in today. we're not going to live in the old system, the way they wrote, and because what they talked about that time, the problem plaguing our society that time, is not exactly the problem plaguing our society today. Things have changed. So we have to let the world know that this is the problem we're facing today. So he inspired me in that way, but in a different, and I apply it in a different format. You know? Yeah.
And so you're kind of touching on this a little bit, but getting more to getting more specific. What kind of responsibility do you think that writers or people who use words have to society? And define society in any way you know you want. Maybe your community in Nigeria, maybe Nigeria itself, the continent, or from a more global perspective. However you want to interpret society. But what kind of responsibility do you think people who use words have to it?
Yeah, I believe you know, there's a saying that said, "Pen is mightier than the sword." Pen can permeate into history and make a lasting, longer impact. So I believe writers have a big role to play in today's modern society. And it should be on the positive side. You know, everything like the gun, for example, has a positive impact and a negative impact. The positive impact, for example, you can use it to scare away animals, you know trying to, you know, crouching or maybe living in a kind of a wood area, and you see an intruding beast, you can just fire it up and just use it to scare away the animal. And when you use it on somebody, that's the negative side. So the pen has a positive side and a negative side too. When you write your story and you tell about, you know, trying to instigate people against one another, trying to sell things that's going to bring two societies or two people together, you know, trying to manipulate people with your pen. That's the negative side of it. So others have the responsibility of using their pen in a positive way, trying to let people know that this is what should be done. Everybody, we owe one another love. You understand? We owe one another befriended. There's something that connects the whole people around the whole continent, whether you're from Asia, from Africa, from Europe, anywhere, America. There's something that connects us together. So you use the pen in a positive way to provide a solution to a problem. You see a problem, you use your pen and say, how can I contribute to solving this problem? And not how can I put, you know, create more or make the problem more expounded. No. So that's what basically writers owe to the society today, using the pen in a positive way to, you know, make people think in a positive way and act in a positive way.
Excellent. Well, I want to end the questions there, but then also mention a couple of your other works. Poems from Africa to the World is a book of poems that you've written from a number of different vantage points. You have another book called Gifted, and then, of course, the book which you read from Goliath and the Ant.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming today and sharing this with us.
Thank you.